So what made you want to compete on The Masked Singer?
Just to get out of the house, uh, make some money, get on TV. No, I mean, certainly it was, it's a nice paycheck. So, this is what I do for a living. I am on TV for a living, so it was work. Um, but also I'm nervous about singing in front of people. I'm
Yeah.
not I don't have any musical training. I can't read music. I don't know music. I'm a sitting in traffic singer. That's the only kind of singer I am. So it was a way to kind of challenge myself and do something uncomfortable. And it was uncomfortable. I was nervous about it because
Yeah.
I still do, if to go on TV and just chat and be funny and tell stories or react to things like that I could do all day, and it's not like I don't get nervous about that because I've done so much of that. But singing, that makes me nervous. So it was kind of a way to challenge myself to do something that I wouldn't normally say yes to.
Yeah, definitely. How did you feel about your performance overall?
It was okay. I mean, I'm not a huge fan of me. I think I do fine. Um, and I am disappointed that I didn't get through. But I mean, but the other singers were really good singers. They were
Yeah.
like I would not be surprised if we get to the end and I find out, well, God damn it, they're all singers. Like
Yeah.
they're not. It's not just like, oh, it's a hockey player. It's like, no, these are singers. Because they were really good, and I was not expecting that. Um, and I think, like I say, I think I did fine. I did
Yeah, you did great.
karaoke fine. Yeah.
You did great. You did great.
Thank you.
Did you have any inkling as far as who your other competitors were? I know you're all
No,
masked up,
none
but
whatsoever. And I mean, and while you're doing it too, you're in a silo. You don't even
mhm.
see the other people. And it's not as if there's a feed of the show going on. You only like if you're walking from one place to the other, you're either in the costume or you're like wearing a mask basically
Yeah.
that obscures your identity. And you might catch a glimpse on a monitor of somebody else rehearsing. But I didn't have any clue whatsoever. And it's beyond like one of the people was like really tall. And I was like, maybe a basketball player,
Yeah.
I mean, but I don't know. It might not be. It might just be a really
True.
tall person that's good at singing.
That's true. Speaking of that mask, what was it like performing in that dustbinning costume? It was definitely fuzzy and big and looked pretty heavy.
It's not so heavy, and it all sort of rested on a helmet. Like it's
Okay.
all kind of, there's no straps or anything. I'm wearing furry overalls, with
Yeah.
suspenders. Um, but it wasn't too heavy, but it's very hot. It's you're in there's nowhere for your own body heat to escape, and you're in like foam rubber, so you really are kind of trapped in there.
Yeah.
And the visibility is terrible. You have like two little peepholes to look out of. Um, so it's not, and it's not, like there was choreography and there was some things that they wanted me to do. I'm like, I can't do that. Like I can't, like hand gestures. I'm like,
Yeah.
my hands were like from just above, like just above the wrist was all I could really get out. And I was like, there's not a lot I can do.
Yeah. It's tough. I don't know how you guys do it. I really don't. Every week I'm like, I don't even know how I would have fallen.
Yeah.
Oh. Who did you tell about your performance? Obviously, Dick Van Dyke knew because he was your ambassador, and that was so cool to see him
Yeah.
introduce you.
I didn't tell him. That was a surprise to me that
Oh,
he was,
really?
yeah, yeah. I didn't know that. And I met him, but I don't really know him well or anything. But yeah, it was very flattering. I was very honored to have him do that.
Yeah, it was that was a cool intro. Did you tell Conan about your performance? Who
Um,
did you tell?
I think I did mention it to him. Well, you're not supposed to.
Yeah,
You're
okay.
not supposed to tell anybody. But of course, like my wife knew and my
Yeah.
kids knew. And I think like I told my sister. Um, and on like the night of the show, I did tell my siblings and my mom watched The Masked Singer tonight, and it's kind of like they figured out. I think they probably figured out it's because I'm on it.
Yeah.
Because if I don't tell them when I'm on things, they get mad at me. So But I didn't really tell too many people. I kind of, kept it under my hat because it was, that's the deal. That's
Yeah.
you sort of make this deal with them. And it is kind of fun to keep it a secret. You don't you don't want spoilers to happen.
Yeah, of course not. Who was surprised to see you on the show after it aired last night? Did you get any interesting DMs or messages from anyone?
No, I haven't actually. But I mean, but I was yesterday. I actually was working. I taped an episode of After Midnight,
Hmm.
the Taylor Tomlinson show on CBS. So I was busy all day. And I was shooting there while the East Coast feed was going on, so I didn't know that. And then when I got home, there was a Dodger game to watch. There was dinner to make and a Dodger game to watch. So I wasn't even that, aware of it. But I'm here. I'm talking to you from the Team Coco podcast studios, and I got here early because I've been doing this since like 7 a.m. Um, but the people here didn't know. Like I had a break
Oh,
and I went
wow.
out and they said, "What are you doing here so early?" And I told them I'm doing press for this, and they were like, "What? You were on that?" So I think they were out there watching it a little while ago. So I think they brought up my performance and were watching it. So,
I'm
but
sure
they were
you'll hear
very
some feedback.
excited. But
Yeah,
they're fans of mine. So
which is great. Of course they should be. I'm
yeah,
sure they'll give you their reaction soon.
yes,
Were you surprised that you stumped the judges and that none of them were able to guess you in the end?
yeah. I think I was because um, Ken Jong I know pretty well. Jenny McCarthy I've met. I mean she was on the Conan show back in like the early 90s. She
Yeah.
used to come on pretty frequently. And I think that she has guessed me she's guessed me for other people.
Hmm.
So I kind of thought that the two of them might. Um, but and they were and then some of the clues, you never know, but I did feel like once I because my voice is people can tell me by my voice
Hmm.
when I out if I'm in a store or something, nobody notices me. And when I start talking, they're like, wait a minute, I know that voice. And there were people online, just regular people commenting on the show who were like, the second he started singing, I knew it was Andy Richter. So I I think if I'd lasted another episode, they would have probably
Yeah.
figured it out, because and there were some of the clue, by the time we were to the second round of clues, I think it would have been they would have started to get it.
It was funny to watch them, all of their reactions afterwards, how shocked they were, especially Jenny. She was like totally
Yeah.
stumped once
Yeah,
you were
I mean,
unmuted.
I don't know how that math works in their brains about who they think it is or who they think it isn't. And it is kind of, and honestly, it's like that's a fun part of the show, but it does not have anything to do with the actual results.
Yeah,
It's purely the votes of so they could all guess you and it wouldn't really change anything.
that's true. That's true.
Yeah.
Would you ever do something like this again now that you've kind of stepped out of your comfort zone and staying in front of everybody?
Um, it would depend. I mean, like if there was a project, like like there's been a couple times where they've approached me to do something, like a Broadway-ish kind of show.
Hmm.
And if something like that happened, I would certainly entertain it. But I would need a lot of help. I would need a lot of help to make sure that I could do it. I don't
You
think
could.
I'll ever get a job, in Guys and Dolls really singing, but I think that if it was like a comedy kind of singing, I think I could pull that off.
Yeah, I say go for it. Why not?
Yeah.
Shifting gears a little bit to your show, the Andy Richter Call-In Show. You've had some really amazing guests from, fellow comedians to actors. Who do you still really want on? Who's your dream guest?
Oh, wow. Well, I would love to have Conan on. I think that that would be fun, and I'm sure that that will happen at some point. Uh, um, but it's what's been great is it's mostly kind of like people that I'm friendly with, and so
Hmm.
it's a it's a very easy hour of hanging out, taking phone calls, hearing people's crazy stories. Um, you know, some of them are just like there. We I just yesterday we did an episode. I did it with Flu Laborg, the comedian Flu Laborg,
Mhm.
and it was about injuries. We said we wanted injury stories. And like a woman called in and told us about how her husband sneezed while urinating and ruptured his urethra,
What?
which she was like, and she said, yeah, they went to the hospital and they're like, yeah, that's a thing that happens. Like you have to be careful when you're
Wow.
urinating to not sneeze because
Wow.
you could rupture your urethra. So we were, which was very painful to hear. You feel that phantom pain and
Yeah.
um, so yeah, no, it's a lot of fun and it's there's no homework. You just show up and answer the phone. So I'm really enjoying it a lot.